Next week is Easter Sunday, and we can't wait for that. But as the church in this time, we're normally we would be having a big push to have 500 or 600 people in our sanctuary on Easter, and we'd have a great crowd. Normally we'd be making a big push for that. Instead, we're unfortunately going to be coming to you in your homes. So instead, we decided to add this into our normal Easter kind of preparations, and we want to share a little bit. And there'll be stories throughout this week of different ministers from the church sharing a little bit of the story of Easter and just leading up to Easter. Today is Palm Sunday. We celebrate Palm Sunday, and churches all across the nation, all around the world celebrate Palm Sunday as kind of the kicking off of Easter. And in the day of Jesus, the week leading up to Easter was a kind of a troublesome week for some, and it was a lot of ups and downs. Had more drama than any TV show or anything we've come up with since. It's the greatest story in all the world, and we don't want to miss out on any of it. In all your binge watching, we want you to have a little bit of the story of Jesus in there. So we want to encourage you this week to tune in. Each day we're going to have small things like this. Palm Sunday, right? Today is Palm Sunday, and we want to celebrate that. In Palm Sunday is a celebration of Jesus' triumphal return to Jerusalem. In the story, and you can find it actually recorded in all four of the Gospels. In Luke 19, it records it, and then the other three Gospels also share parts of this story. And I want to encourage you this week to dig into these stories as we're sharing them with you. But in the story, Jesus is telling his disciples he's about ready to go back to Jerusalem. They're in the process of making their way back to Jerusalem, and in that time, Jesus, as they're traveling back towards Jerusalem, Jesus tells his disciples, he gives them specific directions. He says, go to this town, to this village, and you'll see a donkey and a colt tied to a post. And so you go take that donkey and colt and bring them to me. I have need of them. In fact, if somebody asks you what happened, why you're taking their donkey and colt, tell them that the master has need of them. And today, I'm thankful that the master needs us, right? But there's nothing better than to be used of the Lord. And so today, as Jesus, they brought the colt and the donkey to Jesus and laid their coats on it, and Jesus sat on the donkey and was going to be taken into the city of Jerusalem as kind of a triumphal return to Jerusalem. A lot of people probably would look at that and think, well, that seems strange. And in our world today, we don't have that kind of parades. We don't do those kind of things very often. But this would be a big parade, essentially, that as Jesus was coming into Jerusalem. And this was all to fulfill prophecy of the Old Testament. But as Jesus was coming into Jerusalem, it said he would he would be riding on a donkey. And so Jesus came into Jerusalem riding on a donkey, and it was a borrowed donkey. Normally in those days, this was, I guess, a more common occurrence, was a big parade when the king would come back to town after going out and being victorious. He would come back to town and do great. They would have this big parade, this big party, big kind of shindig, so to speak. And so this is the Jesus version of that, I guess, is the best way to put it. And so Jesus comes back riding on a donkey, and the people, Jesus at this point had become pretty notorious in the community. The people knew who Jesus was. He had healed Lazarus. He had delivered the demoniac. He had done great things. People were looking for miracles from Jesus. And so at this point, people began to lay palm branches down in the streets to kind of symbolize the power and the majesty of Jesus. It was not necessarily the same kind of scene that they had been used to. And in fact, some people would have been looking for the Messiah to come back as a king. And so they were expecting this to be, normally the king would ride in on his white horse or his black horse, his horse that had got him through the battle. Normally the king would ride in on the horse and it would be this triumphant return. And today we find Jesus riding in on a donkey, which is not quite as noble as a horse in many people's eyes. But today we're in kind of a weird situation too, right? And so today, as we're celebrating, it's not about what it normally would be. As we're getting into this Easter season, many times we're so excited about a new dress or a new suit or a new outfit that we've gotten, and our children are excited about new outfits that they've got. We're more excited than they are in most cases, but we're excited about coming to church and having Easter and showing off, and it's always we always make it a big deal, and it should be a celebration. But in this time and in their time in Jesus' day, sometimes the celebrations looked a little different than people would have expected. And we want to encourage you to still enjoy Easter. It may be different. It will have to be different, honestly, for most of you, because most of the time we're all gathering together at the church. But it'll have to be different. But we don't want you to forsake Easter. We don't want you to miss out on Easter. It's a beautiful time of year, and we love this celebration. And so we want to encourage you to worship the Lord today with us in our services and throughout the week. Find time to worship the Lord. Find time to pray. Find time to reach out. It may seem a little different. It's not our normal schedule. It's not our normal routine. And life in the last few weeks has gotten into an upheaval. But I'm thankful today that God has a plan. And just like Jesus sent the men to go find the donkey, God has a plan for us today. It may look different than what we expected. It may look different than how we dreamed and planned. But God still has a plan today. He's still on the throne. He's not left us. He's not forsaken us. And I'm thankful for that today. Don't forget to tune in every day, trying to find these little messages. They'll be from different ministers, and it'll be a great time to dig into this Easter season and to learn more about the story of Easter. And it's more than just a pretty picture on a postcard somewhere, but there's a lot of drama, and you need to tune in. You want to learn about this. This is good stuff.